All right, here we go. Welcome to HEMAchat. I am, of course, Ted Elsner, and with me, as always, is
Seiji.
Yeah, and how you doing today, guys? Today, after a nice bit of discussion and thought and arguments on the internet, we are talking about that most contentious of Meyer's secondary cuts, the Blendthauw.
Blind strike.
Yeah, the blind strike. Thank you, Seiji. Way to hit the time on that. So exactly. Basically, it came about because there was a discussion on the Meyer Freifechter Guild's Facebook page. And the question was prompted because someone posted, or someone, Mike Cartier, the leader of the group, posted a video that was done by HEMAborg, Meyer's class, right, out of Meyer class HEMAborg. Yeah, with Bjorn, of their interpretation of the Blendthauw. And it was a great video. Always, you know, the Meyer HEMAborg guys do high quality videos that if nothing else, will get us talking. We didn't actually 100% agree with their interpretation. And I'm gonna go ahead and get that started here so you guys can take a look at it, just in case you've forgotten what it looks like. Right, here we go. We'll get it started here in just a second. Just small up there. We'll blow it up once it gets where it's going. Come here, Seiji. Get your face out of it. There we go. Right there. There's a good spot for you. So anyway, their interpretation comes about partly because of a translation question, right? So in Meyer, in Foring's translation for the particular device that they're starting in right now, he says that you wind through with the pommel to your left side. That's what Foring says. And he specifically squares it out, puts an asterisk, and notes that in the 1570 that it's done with, it says signer, it says his left side. But for some reason, Foring has decided to translate it as your. And now this leads to a number of potential problems, right? Because my left side versus his left side is a pretty big difference. Let me go ahead and make this large while we're talking about it here, just so we can see it a little bit better. And then we'll talk about 61 as well later on. So, you know, we get these different kind of interpretations of things, right? And so it's hard, right? The text is difficult. It doesn't give us a clear answer one way or the other. I wish I knew what Foring was thinking, right? You know.
Yeah, I wish he was here to explain what he means.
Why he decided to put your instead of his. Now, Seiji does a lot of Dusak, and the blind strike again shows up in the Dusak. And on that one, it does start from a position where your pommel is on the opponent's, your left, their right, and the blade is out oppositely, which would be the same as the way that Foring has translated it. But again, right, is that what his justification was? For our interpretation, we're going to go with the version where you strike initially from your left side. Now I've looked in the 1570, I've looked in the 1600, and I agree, it says his left side. Ultimately, I don't think it matters. For our interpretation, it's about striking blind. It's not about trying to strike across the eyes, right? Like Meyer's a pretty straightforward guy. if he wanted us to stab the guy or cut the guy in the eyes, he would call it an eye strike. I mean, go look at what he calls different elements of the rapier, right? The face thrust, the groin thrust, right?
Like the hip cut.
Yeah, the hip cut. He's going to tell you where he wants you to cut the other person if you're targeting a specific portion. So I think that's right out. Our version we've found, and we're going to try and show it to you today properly, works when you can't see your opponent. That's what makes it a blind strike, is that when you do it properly, you're not looking at your opponent. Now this is hard because what are we trained to do? Watch your opponent. Keep an eye on him. Make sure that, you know, if Seijie's here, I don't want to be looking away from him, not paying attention to him, right? He might get me. Except that for the strike to work, I need to not look at Seijie. So if I screw up, it's probably going to be because I can't override that, you know, feeling that I need to look at my opponent as I try and hit him in the head. So that's going to be kind of what we're working on for it today. That's what we're hoping to make happen. So what we're going to show you. First, we're going to look at our interpretation of that very first example play that Meyer gives us in the section on the secondary cuts. Okay. For this one, like I said, we are going to follow Foring's interpretation. There's a number of reasons we've decided to stick with this. Not just because Foring says so, but we're going to wind through. We like it because it provokes a response, specifically. Also, we like it because we found several other situations where doing a similar action results in a similar strike, and it really is advantageous to pull it off from this section where you're threatening to reach over and grapple with the pommel that comes from a Durchwinden, from a winding through with the pommel, with the hilt. We're also going to show you our version of the second place Meyer mentions the blind strike, specifically in the third part of the longsword. That one, again, a little bit more difficult because he talks about letting it rebound, and then he talks about a thwart and what's going on. This brings an important point. For our blind strike, it doesn't have to be a specific motion. Rather, we can think of it as a Schielhau or a Zwerchhau that's just done in the blind. You can't see your opponent. So the first one will be more of a shield-like action. The second one is very much going to be a Zwerchhau if we pull it off properly and make it work. Anything to add?
Would you like to mention the word slipping that Foring uses?
Yeah, it's a good point also. Another difficult part. This interpretation really falls into, we were talking about this today, a lower categorization of interpretations, right? Like there's some interpretations which we consider really our Class A interpretations. These are the ones that are really, really clear. There's no question about what our opponent is going to be doing or what we're doing. Class A, beautiful. This one is a Class B, possibly even a Class C. There are, I say it's B because we're happy with it, but there's a lot of issues that come about with it. We mentioned the question of right versus left side. The other issue that comes up is what does Foring mean when he says when the opponent slips after you're winding? If you look at the German term for it, it's Nachwischen, which, as I understand, can be translated as swipe or wipe or slip. So there's some debate there as to exactly what the opponent is doing. The way we're interpreting this is when I go for the Durchwinden, or when Seijie does, the opponent is going to slip with a Schielhau and trying to get over the top, and that's really going to set us up for our response and what we're going to hopefully be pulling off and showing for you here in just a second. So we're going to go and get ready, and we're going to show you this here right. All right, guys. Hopefully our audio is still playing nice today. So we're trying to get this from a few different angles. Yeah, go ahead and mask up and glove up. So we'll get this from a few different angles. Hopefully this works out pretty well for you guys. So the first one, right? This is going to be the first description where we strike into a bind, and then I'm going to wind through with my pommel to my left side. We'll talk about and look at the problems of winding to my right side, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll start slow. So strike in, right? So I've got that wind. Now I'm going to threaten the Durchwechsel, and as I do that, I'm going to really come through trying to reach forward for Seijie's arm. As Seijie does that, he's going to wind over the top, striking the shield, right? That's what he's trying to do. All right, so let's do that again. Right, we're striking in, get to that. I'm going to go up and down, and I'm going to come across. Looking at Seijie, doing exactly what I said I don't want to do. strike, come through. There it is. All right, one more time. We'll go a little bit faster. There we go. Let's hit from a different angle here. Say, come on over here. See if we can get it from over the shoulder. Right, wind up. Now, I'm keeping in mind, I can still feel Sage's blade. So that way at the end of it, wrench to the side, strike, slip out, wind back out like Meyer tells us to do. So one more time. Up, strike. Let's do that again. Move my sword markers. Keep trying to not step on them. One more. Let's get from the edge. Yeah, right there. That's good. Trying to do these live, not messing them up. Wind through. Straight back. Don't look at your target. That's my problem. Strike. Wind. There we go. Wind. There it was. There we go. All right. Trying to do this live. Not the easiest thing in the world. But when I don't look at Seiji, that's when I'm striking properly. When I can't override my instincts, I still look at him, I get the wrong side, I take it in the head. We have found this, again, it shows it in a couple of different spots. Let's look at if I try and wind to my ad side. So, we're coming to our bind. If I go to his left side, now the first thing is, if I'm giving this from a central bind, the second I come through, yeah, he has pressure, but if I'm doing this in single time motion, okay, right? If we're doing this, I'm coming in and I'm going to strike all in one motion, great. But if I'm going to strike, wind through, feel him slip after my bind, whatever that means in this context, and then go up. Why is Seiji not going, if I've given him two motions, right? I've struck, I've wound. If he now just goes straight into the field, I don't know that I can get it over the top of that without getting stabbed in the throat. So this is a problem. It's a major problem. That's why I don't really like the outside interpretation. I gotta agree with Thoring. Without more information, I don't know why you would do it. As soon as we come in, bam, we're there. If I'm not pushing to my left and controlling my center line, or at least striking and threatening him immediately, I'm going to push up and out, why is he even going to care, right? He immediately winds up. Crap. I mean, even if I try and go up, this is no good, okay? Over here. See that. Right. Out to you with a little step. Seiji's going to wind. He's going to slip that winding, and I'm going to take it in the face. Yeah, I might catch him. But what am I doing? What am I doing to stop him? Nothing. So I got issues with the left side interpretation. Am I possibly wrong? Absolutely. 100%. But I'd like to see somebody telling me, give me a better setup. I can't think of one where this makes sense. Even with pressure, I'm creating two moments. Yeah, I know we don't want to talk about tempo in German fencing, but I'm yielding the vor. Right? If he's totally passive, sure. But if he's totally passive, why am I doing this technique to begin with? It's a problem. All right, let's look at our version that's going to be done with the spare cap. Okay? So for this one, Meyer tells us to start off with a slash, and then strike with the inside flat, and then rebound and take your head well out of the way and strike from behind. Now again, I can't see Seiji. My arm is right in the way when I do this one. Okay? This play also, Meyer tells us, let the line rebound, pass the quarter around. Be attentive to the flicking. This thwart, I think, is also Blendthauw, right? It tells us it can be done in many ways. This is another way. I'm going to come up, I'm going to strike, I'm going to smack, okay? And I'm going to catch Seiji. If I look at it, right, so I'll look at it this time. And I try and strike, and I'm looking at him. It's hard for me to bring it around. If I bring it at him and look, I get that extra hip turn. I get that extra distance, right? Here looking at him, I can't easily reach him. I can, but it's hard. Right, as soon as I turn the hips into it, I can no longer see him. Now the strike lands. That gets us that. Another play that we think is related to the Blendthauw is the winding from the lower hangings. Specifically, I think this is 161 V1? V2? No, it's V1. Yeah. This 163 V1. It's the first winding from the lower hanging. Okay? And so it starts off very similar to the last action. I'm going to strike through, and as I strike in, Sage is going to come, and I'm going to catch and hanging. Okay? Now, on this one, Meyer's actually pretty specific. Catch it on our strong with pressure. On this one now, I'm going to keep my hands up high, I'm going to wind through, and I'm going to strike. Okay? Do that a little bit faster. All right, so we'll strike, we'll come in, catch. Right, and get the head out of the way. Strike. I'm just going to get ready to begin. Just strike into it. Here, and then we're here. Okay? So I think this one's related as well. 163 V1. Again, doing it right, can't see Seiji. Yeah, sure. So Sage is going to attack, we'll catch the hanging. We're going to press our hands nice and high, and as we do it, we're going to shift away into our turned out stance. Done right, we'll catch him. And stay protected. Keep in the bind. Now this one actually works nice because Meyer tells us that it makes it somewhat open. And if we get there, it creates an opportunity for Seiji to come off the blade. Right? So I'm going to strike, I catch it. I potentially missed right. I feel him leave his pressure, and I'm going to step, and I'm going to just Blendthauw back out of there. Okay? As soon as he does it, turning the long edge back onto it, winding it back out. Okay? What time? All right. Yeah. So we played around with this for other winding extrapolations. Specifically, again, kind of getting into the same thing, right? Even beforehand, I come in to my initial bind, and Seiji goes to turn it into a shield how. If I immediately switch into this blind strike, can't see him. Am I in his ear? I think I'm in his ear. Am I in his ear, Mitch? Yeah. Right? So again, we struck in, he winds, and immediately go, here we go. That got into the shoulder, give him a shove. Right? We strike him completely blind, it'll bring it right on point. Right? He winds, go here. Right? At that point, however we want to finish, shove through. If I missed, we also have some lovely pommels, some hooks. You're set up, right? But it's, again, being executed completely blind, which is why we think it's related to the blind strike, why we think it's part of the blind strike, why we think it is the blind strike, basically. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, well, let me switch us back in. All right, guys, so that brings us just about to the end today. Hopefully it's been useful to you. We don't look like we have any questions today. We'll give it a second just to find out. I got a couple of my students here. You guys have any questions? Mitch, you've watched it. You got any questions I can answer for you? Any thoughts?
Top of head, no.
No? Nothing? All right.
What's important with the whole point of the looking away is that it allows you to control the center while letting your right shoulder, your lead shoulder, actually go around. So if I keep looking, you can see my right shoulder is still here. But once I look away, my right shoulder can go around and I'm in a more structurally sound position.
Right, and that's the thing that we've also found with this particular strike is that by looking away, we tend to have a better structurally sound, harder hitting strike. Whereas if we're trying to look at the person, if we're trying to still see where it's going, it causes problems. We've also seen some interpretations where people are like leaning their heads back or trying to look away, and now they're gonna be there. It's all right, Matt. You're a little bit too late, but we've gone over the stuff. But if you have a question, we'll answer for you right here. Also, this will be saved for later view. Mitch has a question.
I do have a question. So I noticed your end position when you're looking away, your intent's not to actually stop there.
No.
I imagine you follow up, square up, or get out.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Right, we're stopping there because that's where we've been practicing and training to. It's an artifact of our training at the moment. But we want to strike into it and then immediately continue through. Do an abzug. Do a secondary strike. Pay attention to the pressure in the bind and immediately wind back in. This particular technique really leaves you open. And so it's kind of dangerous in that sense. You have to have feeling. You have to feel what's going on with your opponent's blade. And the second that you feel them move, you got to execute this, right? This is not one of the high percentage techniques. This is a very low percentage technique. You're not going to do it a lot of the time. But yeah, don't stop. Just like any other technique, right? We never want to stop until we're back out of range. Sometimes we stop. Artifacts of training, it's a bad habit, basically, that needs to be broken. But that was a good question. Yeah, we got a couple of people showing up too late today. Here we go. So we think that it refers to the Handbreit Doppeljahren and ends with. So let me pull up that specifically. Just so for anybody that's not familiar with the strike that the Doppeljahren ends with, which is basically, possibly, where am I at? There we go. Right. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, right, so cut first from your right to his ear at once when swords clasp together. Push your pommel through under your right arm. Go up with the same time with both hands and strike him with the short edge behind his blade on his head. Possibly. Yeah, absolutely. Very possibly. Let's go look at that really quick, Seiji. So let's pop over here. Let's check this. Let's try this out. Yeah. Right? So potentially we're going to double, right? So usually strike and then we're immediately thinking for that do it through. So we could strike and then come right out. And sure, I could see it being done as a Blendthauw. Right? And come in. It's kind of hard to do actually without pressure from Seiji's sword on this as I struck in and as I'm going to come. I think it's actually a little bit weaker of a strike doing it this way. I can see doing it. But I've never been a big fan. Yeah, I can see it. Thoughts?
One of my immediate issues would be how is Ted covering himself.
Yeah.
So that interpretation, that Doppeljahren is familiar to me. I'm familiar with the one where it's more of an outside winding, where I'm in the center.
Yeah, you're thinking of the earlier Doppeljahren from the earlier material. Yeah. I think it's related. I think, again, it relies on pressure from the opponent, and don't stop, right? So we're slow. Right? We start right in, Seiji starts to pull out of the bind, maybe, and then we could come in and strike. But I really got to be careful here. If I'm not forcing him to start to go up in some way, shape, or form, it's dangerous. Now, again, it falls in. Did I catch your head that time? Yeah, right? It's amazing how often it gets there. Well, think about it. I think it's related. I really want to think more on what the setup I want for that Doppeljahren to be. But, yeah. Let's check. Any other? Let's come on back over here. All right, there we go. Back on one. Yes?
Can I get a page number?
Sure. For those of you following along at home, Doppeljahren is on page, 64 of the Foreign translation. There we go. What's the device number?
On footwork?
119R3. Yeah.
On footwork with the first example of the Blendthauw, it's important that since with our interpretation we're trying to execute a Durchwinden as a first intention, that after the cut where your right foot is forward, that you partly stepping forward with your left with the passing, and to get that Durchwinden, and once he slips after you're winding through, and then you can step out with your right, go into turnout position and strike with the Blendthauw, because the Blendthauw is a secondary cut, it's a shortcut, and if you don't take that step forward, you won't have the distance and you'll end up reaching. You're not trying to reach the opponent's head with this cut. You can't, you have to have your structure, your body, as it turns out, guide the cut, not your hands. So to speak.
That's an excellent point. If you're trying to reach out for it, if you're trying to force it to happen, it's not going to happen. This cut really requires a proper setup, proper distance. The first one has the Durchwinden. The second one, we're stepping in under cover of the Prellhau and then transitioning it into a blind Zwerchhau. In the winding from the low hanging, that is also going to be one that already has a strong on strong. We're already in distance. We're in that range where a short strike is going to land perfectly. As soon as you start looking for it, your break-in structure problems come into it. And again, going back to the excellent video from the Meyer hammerboard guys, right? Like the distance is involved. Bjorn has to step into it, and then he's stepping again, and this is working great because his opponent is being completely unresponsive. But starts to get dangerous if there's not, if any kind of threat is presented, right? Ours we like because again, we're assuming a counterattack from our opponent. We're not relying on just 100% season of the vor and pushing all the way through and hoping that they stay responsive. If you get an opponent that is that reactive all the time, use one of your basic techniques. Now, I don't think this falls under what we call the schoolyard BS plays of Meyer. Some of the ones where he likes to show off. Yeah, all right. Any other questions, guys? Hopefully, Matt, that answered it for you. We're going to have class starting here in just a couple of minutes. One thing I do want to mention, so next week is WMAW. I will be there, so hopefully if their internet connection will allow, I'll be going live from WMAW, hopefully with some footage that I've managed to film during the first day of workshops. And bring that to you guys. So hopefully we get some highlights from my first couple of classes, give you some of the little snippets of good times. Worst case, we'll see if we can interview some of the HEMA luminaries that are going to be there. I'm going to try and get some time with Jake Norwood. If nothing else, I'll grab Michael Chidester and make him answer some questions. We'll get some people. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. See what you have, and we'll go from there. But we'll give it just another minute here for this to catch up, and then if that's it, we're going to call it a day. I'm going to grab some water while they're... There we go. Excellent. All right, I think that's it. Looks like nothing else. So guys, if you do have any questions, because we're going to go ahead and end this, go ahead and just put them down in the comments, and we'll be sure to answer them. I'll make sure to answer them in next week's video. And as always, like and subscribe, hit those buttons. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay, yeah, sorry. I wasn't sure that my camera was going to be picking up properly today, so I had one of the mics on. We'll make sure to turn that off for the next one. Thanks for the feedback on that. It's hard to tell on our end.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and have a good time. Like I said, please, if I know you guys have, but like and subscribe to us and help us out in the future.